Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Green Flag. I'm your host, Lukas. With me, as always, we have Kyle Cushman. And in today's episode, we've got another fantasy preview here for you guys today for the second Pocono race for the NASCAR Cup Series. So the Saturday one, the first one, took place earlier today at the time we're recording this. So a wild finish to that one. Probably the best finish of the season, if you can categorize it as that. And that
it's up there.
It's got to be the biggest surprise of them all that it happens at Pocono of all places. So we'll briefly talk about the race itself, just give our overall thoughts on the finish itself, and then we'll jump swiftly into the fantasy preview to get you ready for the Cup Series race, which is going to be an interesting one. See if it can try and follow up what was happened here on the Saturday. But before we get into the fantasy and a little bit of a race breakdown, how are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm doing good. Yes, a very busy day of racing, all the way from the morning with F1 qualifying to the first W Series race of the season,
yes,
all the way through to trucks and Cup Series. SRX just wrapped up as well. So a very busy Saturday of racing and a very fun one, especially with a bit of a surprise there from Pocono with some pretty solid racing in between with the different strategies and whatnot. Some good cars getting held up a little bit in the middle of the pack there, battling while also still having to make their way up back into the top 10. And then, of course, the battle for the lead late in the race, Kyle Larson prevailing. And then the unthinkable happens. Like at Pocono, when you think about that kind of finish, you would think that it'd be like a fuel mileage type of thing, not somebody randomly cutting a tire with a low degradation track and seemingly hitting debris on like going into like the last corner, just going straight and having his teammate go back by for the win. So crazy finish, really fun race, and a nice way to kick off the weekend here at Pocono.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised, to say the least, of what Pocono had
that
in
may
store
even be
for
an
us
understatement.
Today. Yeah. Like, I got to be honest, that was actually a pretty damn good race, and I was not expecting that whatsoever. The different strategies, like you pointed out there, really added some intrigue to the race. We had a differing pit strategies, and then, like you said as well, a low degradation track, but then of all things, a tire failure is the one that really decides it. And it's really unfortunate for Kyle Larson, obviously, like going for 4 in a row, trying to enter the history books. Nobody's done it since Jimmy Johnson in 2007. So like this is
that's why you start doing the winner's call out of turn 4, not going into it. Or
Rick Allen was like had this big
all the way down
spiel.
The back stretch. He was like reading it. And then
he was
like he had it pre-prepared.
I'm ready for it.
And then Dale Jr. cuts him off. And that was pretty good.
The tire's down. Oh no. He's probably saying in his mind, he's like, oh, Larson into the wall. Damn you, Larson. Like, I mean, you do feel bad for Rick Allen because he doesn't have great calls when they're, kind of set up to be, nothing happening. And then now the one time something does happen and it seemed like he had something going for him. It all goes downhill.
I mean, it was going to tie history. So
it was pretty cool. And it was one corner away. And unfortunately for Larson, it just his left front tire was not having it. And
just
his
has to start a new streak now.
And it just seems like, Alex Bowman has been like one of the most fortunate guys with race wins this season. Like, wouldn't you say? Like 3 wins on the year.
Absolutely.
But like, where does he come from in these races? Like,
he hasn't had a dominant race by any means. You look at Richmond, he came out of nowhere on a late restart, got the track position, was good at good on the restart, and somehow held on for the win. And then you look at Dover, some good pit strategy. He gets the track position again and he prevails there. So I think more in his hands to a certain extent in this one, because he drove up and was there and held on to that position for so long and held off Kyle Busch as well behind him. And then was just fortunate to drive on by. So you got to be good to be lucky or something like that. And Alex Bowman has kind of been the mantra of that this season with 3 wins under his belt in very unusual circumstances, kind of for all 3.
Career year for Alex Bowman. So congratulations to him. Well,
there's a lot of tracks getting destroyed this year, apparently.
I'm happy if it's Pocono.
Hey, you cannot praise the racing and then go and trash it again. Come on. At least give it its day.
Yeah. All right. That's this is one of the better Pocono races I've ever watched in all of my life watching NASCAR races. So I'll give it that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the second one kind of has in store. There's a lot of potential here. Obviously the top 20 invert, but before we get into the fantasy preview here, Kyle, what would you give for an overall rating for this one? We haven't done that in a little bit. Overall ranking for the first Pocono race.
See, I don't want to go like too high because I feel like the racing was pretty good throughout the entire race, but there was kind of the classic 550 package stuff where at least at the front there at the end, it took forever for Larson to get by, even though he clearly had the better car and all that kind of stuff. Even though in this circumstance, it did kind of make it more enjoyable because with the bigger package, Kyle Larson just would have flew by him. So with the finish and everything involved, with some of the fun stuff we got in the middle of the race of what was it, like Larson, Busch, and Byron, all those kind of guys, Hamlin as well, kind of jockeying for position, while also just like in the middle of the teens because of the weird strategies everyone was trying. So I think I'll just go with like a straight like 8 out of 10, which I think is a fair. I don't think it was like anything like higher than that to where it's like all-time great, like insane race. I think it was a very, very good race for Pocono, exceeded our expectations, but I also don't want to put it on maybe too high of a pedestal.
Okay. I was thinking 7.5, like, but 8, I think it's right around that number.
7.5 to 8, I think is the sweet spot.
I'll go 7.5, I guess. But like, I was really entertained. Like, I mean, I'm not going to gloat or anything, but I was working the race for TSN, and like I was doing.
You were preparing for a snooze fest.
I was, I thought I would have very little content today, and surprisingly, we had a lot of cautions. We had a lot of incidents, which we usually don't have at Pocono.
You got a Kyle Busch stage win. Like it was a fun day.
Overall, I feel pretty lucky as a guy that was putting out the content there today. But when I might
I say a very fantastic Alex Bowman graphic that made it on the main TSN as well. So big props there.
Thank you very much. Go check it out. Go follow TSN. Obviously, I'm going to promote it because I work for them now.
Go for it. They got 900K, but hey, promote it.
If there's a couple of you that haven't, go follow them. Doesn't hurt. And then also, obviously, follow us at the Green Flag Pod on Instagram. That's where you can find the graphic as well. So we're going to double dip on that one. But overall, very exciting Pocono race for the first one of the race weekend. Let's hope that the Sunday one can deliver in similar fashion. We have the Xfinity Series race. Obviously, before that, we've done our kind of picks for those races in the previous one yesterday. So make sure you go check that one out if you want to see our picks for that. We're not going to revisit that today, but
we can revisit it a little bit because of a certain somebody who continued their streak. But
no, fair enough. You got it right.
8 straight, baby. Let's go.
Yep, he got it right, and he also got the Truck Series race winner today as well. So a very good day overall, and as much as
which means tomorrow is going to go way downhill.
As much as I would love to slate you for everything that went right for you today, I mean I can't blame you because at
least we both got the pole pick right for F1.
That's true, and I'll take that. At least something's going my way. F1, that's my saving grace. That's all I've got. But NASCAR, we've got our fantasy preview to get into here, Kyle. Yeah, like you said, 8 straight for you here. This is 2 months of categories or of fantasy victories on the actual calendar kind of months with race weekends, excluding the All-Star race, of course, because there's no fantasy involved with that. So, but if we did have fantasy for it, you probably would have won that as well. So, what's the point? But hopefully here, my strategy of going a bit safer wasn't actually as bad as what I thought.
No, it almost played out really well, especially with hitting on Kurt Busch there, which was a really, really good pull that really helped you out. But it's been since your last one was April 25th at Talladega. So it's been a bit of a cold streak.
Of all places too, which is bad.
I know. And I almost won that one as well with Chris Buescher on the last lap. So
I know.
It's been a good streak for myself, which means that I'm just waiting for that day where it just all falls apart for me, which could be tomorrow or today, whenever you're listening to this, for all we know. So I am a little bit scared because you did save a couple of nice usages and still kept it close. So on the week to week, you're way behind, but on like the overall points, you're still very close. So I'm a little scared for these next few weeks because you do have a couple of big usages in hand. But I'm interested to see what route you go for this one, whether you go aggressive or whether you kind of keep the same strategy.
I'm intrigued too because I don't know what I'm doing. I've got a couple of guys, obviously, but there's definitely some names. It's tough to go back on previous Pocono history in this situation because we just have the same cars going over to the next race the next day. They can only do so much changes overnight. I'm sure a couple of these guys will be doing a couple of wholesale changes if they can. But kind of what you have is what you have, and we saw last year the top 2 guys just flip places for this doubleheader at Pocono last year with Kevin Harvick and Denny Hamlin. With those guys doing very, very well for themselves, and there's a bit of correlation between the two results. Some guys that ran well in the first race had some incidents in the second one. So it's just a really tough game to play coming into this second Pocono one. But at least you have a 130 lap practice essentially to try and get yourself a little bit of custom, or you can kind of pinpoint some guys that could potentially be a good usage for your lineup. So without further ado, Kyle, you lead us off with the first pick once again here, and
yes,
see if you can continue here. Go 9 in a row.
So I think the big thing here is, again, we've got now 8 races left in the regular season. The usages are starting to wind down big time for the big players. You look at some names like Kyle Larson, who would be obviously a prime candidate to play. I've only got 2 usages left. Even somebody like William Byron, I'm down to 2 usages on after using him in that first race. So gotta pick and choose your spots, but one that I feel fairly safe about, combining the usages I have left with their performance, and both in the first Pocono race this weekend and on the 550 package as a whole this season, is Kevin Harvick. He's been very solid this season, very consistent on the 550 horsepower package. Hasn't necessarily been like the guy in any race, but he's finished inside the top 10 in 5 out of 6 races with this package, finished inside the top 10 in this past race, and wasn't spectacular by any means, but was consistent, got some stage points and had a nice finish. Wasn't the top 4 or anything like that, but had a nice solid day. And so for that, I feel pretty safe about using him this one out, because you look at the rest of the schedule, 3 more road courses. You've got Daytona to round it out. So you're really only looking at 2 or maybe 3 other places where you'd want to play Kevin Harvick. I've got 3 more usages for him. So I feel pretty safe about using him as my first entry to the lineup for Pocono number 2 this weekend.
You have 3 usages left on him right now?
I believe so. Oh, no, I've got 4.
You got 4. Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, did you use a double usage that I don't know about since yesterday? But it's a very good selection. I'm undecided on Kevin Harvick right now because I am actually at 3 usages. And
okay.
I mean, with 3 road courses, I'm not going to be using him on any of those. But when I look at what the other options are, Atlanta, I'm going to be playing him there, right? New Hampshire, been very, very good for him. And then Michigan, all 3 of those tracks suit Kevin Harvick very, very well. It's just whether or not I can maybe find an option here for Pocono. But the thing is, if he struggles in one of those 3 races that I have left, then I'm wasting a usage on Kevin Harvick that I could potentially use maybe even in this race. So I'm undecided. I'm still going back and forth on him. So I'll wait. You'll have to wait and see if I use Kevin Harvick for the second Pocono one. I'm going to go pretty bland for this one. It's the race victor from today. I'm using Alex Bowman. I've got 5 usages left on him. Even though he's starting 20th, I have no risk in playing him here. Obviously had a decent car. I think he was flattering that he won the race, to be honest, but he kind of came out of nowhere.
Still would have finished second.
Yeah, he would have. He just kind of came out of nowhere, really. Like he picked the right line on the restart, and then that was kind of all she wrote. The track position was the name of the game. And then the top cars were up at the front by the end of it, no matter what kind of strategy you really pulled on this one. So 10 extra laps as well for this second Pocono race compared to the first. I don't know why that is. Maybe they want the Sunday show to be just that little bit longer. But if that's the case, Kyle Larson is going to need 10 more laps to figure out his tire situation. But for Alex Bowman, obviously did a phenomenal job to put himself in the right place at the right time today and just capitalized on Kyle Larson's misfortune. So feel good about him. He may not win tomorrow. I'm not expecting him to honestly sweep the weekend here at Pocono, but I think a top 5-7 result for Bowman is exactly what I'm looking for, considering how good Hendrick has been running. And that's the person I'm going to be leading my lineup off with. My second selection, I'm going to be going over to the Team Penske stable once again with this one. I'm double dipping on Ryan Blaney. This guy was probably the most impressive guy for me this entire race because he started 27th and he finishes 5th. And that's a really impressive performance when I look at Chase Elliott, who started right behind him in 29th there. He suffered some damage on that opening lap that kind of hindered his car's abilities, but nonetheless, Blainey was pretty solid. I think if he had some track position, he could have done similar to what Alex Bowman potentially could have done. So I've got 4 usages left with Ryan Blaney. He's not the greatest on the road courses. He had that one win at the Roval, but beyond that, every time I've used him, he's kind of been a bit of a letdown. So I'm looking elsewhere for Ryan Blaney. I think obviously Atlanta is a place. He won there obviously earlier this season. So there's a couple of places where I feel good about Blaney for the rest of the season, but with 4 usages, I think I may just use all 4, and I'll feel comfortable using all 4 for the remainder of the regular season. So Ryan Blaney is for sure in my lineup. He's starting 16th. So he's no stranger to coming up to the field. He went through a lot worse today. So
yeah, exactly.
I think he's got to be a good candidate for a little bit of a bounce back here. Try and get some consistency back after a rough weekend at Nashville last weekend. He can get some momentum going here in the Poconos.
Yep. And just to go back on it, Kevin Harvick starting 13th in the second race here. So pretty decent starting position for him coming up.
I'll move up one really. Because Larson's going to the back.
Yep, exactly. So starting 12th. For myself, I've also got Alex Bowman in the lineup. I've got 4 usages left on him. I was a little bit surprised by that fact. I think I've kind of used him a handful of times this season, not really thinking about his usage situation as much because you don't really value a Bowman usage the same way you would some other drivers. So it's a little bit lower than I thought it would be, but I want at least one Hendrick car in there just based off of the performance that they've had over this past insane stretch. He obviously won last time out. Starting 20th, I don't love it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Especially with probably how some of the strategy is going to go for some of those front runners from the Saturday race going into the Sunday. A lot of those starting deeper in the field than they would have probably going to just punt on that first stage, depending on how they are in that lap time in relation to the leader. So not super concerned about that. And I don't know if I'm going to have any other Hendrick cars in my lineup just based off of those usage situations. 2 for Larson and Byron, 4 still for Elliott, I believe 4 at least. But with road courses coming up. So Alex Bowman for sure in the lineup for myself, as is Ryan Blaney as well. And that one also lends to the usage situation. A good day on Saturday, came up through the fields, got some good stage points, got a good finish there. And I've still got 6 usages left on him. So not concerned whatsoever about that going into this last point of the season. So I think for this race is kind of finding that balance between guys that you don't necessarily care about the usage situation that you're in, that are maybe some higher profile guys, maybe some guys that you've lucked into those kind of situations, like for myself with Blainey, and finding those value usages that you can maybe save a couple of the bigger guys for later on in the season. So I am matching you on both Bowman and Blainey here.
Yeah, that's great. Alrighty. For my third selection here, I'm trying to be strategic on how I announce these because I don't want to be jumping to anything too egregious out of the gate. I will go with the next one I'm going to have back-to-back here, so I don't know why I'm stalling, but I hate that part of it. But I'm double dipping here again. I was very pleased with Kurt Busch.
You should be.
Guy was a steal for me today, and he starts 15th, so he had an incredible run. I was even shocked myself how well he did. Won a stage, obviously, was consistent. It fell off a little bit in that third stage, so but the top guys just kind of came to the front there. Restarts kind of shuffled him back a little bit, but still 15th, not bad at all in terms of starting for tomorrow. He's kind of started there for most of the season, to be honest. I've got 7 usages left on Kurt Busch. This feels like a perfect weekend. He's riding the momentum, and I really like the strategy that they played today. I'm not quite sure if Logano and Kurt Busch can pull off this 2-stop strategy again with those 10 extra laps. I'm not a mathematician, so
I
I'm not going to even try.
I wonder how that plays into the strategy calls.
Because that was a huge reason why those two did so well today on points was that strategy. It worked perfect because the tire degradation was very minimal. So I really like Kurt Busch for this one. I'm not even expecting him to do as well as he did in the second race. I think a top 10 is manageable for Kurt Busch, I would say, considering the circumstances. Couple of stage points. I'm not expecting him to win another stage, but very pleased with how Kurt Busch ran in this first one. So definitely going to be going back to him. Now I'm going to a new guy. This is a bit of a risky one for me. Like I hate being a little risky on my big guys, but I am going to go with Denny Hamlin. His post-race comments were very, very encouraging for me. I don't know if you heard them or not, but he said he needs a little bit of fine-tuning, and he thinks he was faster than a 5 on that last run. So I think that there's potential with this 11 car. Seems to be doing very, very well for himself. I have 3 usages left, so I'm going to be down to 2 over the final 7 races here. So that's not great if he has a good first couple of stages, but when I look at the other options, I'm like, yeah, Denny Hamlin seems to be doing pretty well for himself, finishing first and second here last year, did another top 5 today. He's going to be starting 17th, so he's going to have a bit of room to kind of make up, but I'm confident in the 11 car's abilities that he could get up there and maybe even challenge for the victory if they can fix these little demons inside of these Joe Gibbs cars that they keep on mentioning compared to the Hendrick ones. So feel good about both of those guys. I'm a bit nervous on the Denny Hamlin one considering my usage situation because I have 1 less than you. So I think
I'm on 3.
Okay, then
because I used them today.
Okay, so if you don't use them, then I'm still behind. But yeah, feel good about both of those guys, to be honest, going into tomorrow, and hopefully they can pay off.
I love the Kurt Busch shout again. It worked very well for you on day 1 of the weekend, but I'm not going to go with Kurt Busch as another one of those kind of value guys. I am going with another value guy, maybe another one depending on how things play out. But the value guy I am for sure going to go with is leading the field. Chris Buescher, I'm going with. Leading the field.
Really?
The big thing for me is they weren't great on the opening day of the weekend, but they've played strategy very well throughout the season. They've shown speed at points this season with this package. You look at Charlotte, Kansas, and Atlanta, all top 10 finishes just prior to this Pocono race, and even at Homestead, of course, having the stage win to start off the season with this package. So I have faith in this team with this package. I like them starting up front, mainly because that essentially guarantees to me big stage points off the top if they can get that clean air and keep it off the top, because they need to basically match or honestly exceed what Kurt Busch was able to do on the first day of the weekend and kind of hold serve, keep things close, because of course Chris Buescher did lose out on that last playoff spot as of right now on points. He's 4 points back after going in with at least a decent margin. So a tough opening day of the weekend there for Chris Buescher, but I believe in that Roush number 17 based off of what I've seen this season. And also looking back to last year, he finished inside the top 10 with some strategy and some nice runs in the first Pocono race last year. So finished inside the top 10 in one of the 2 last year, had some issues in the other one. I believe he was caught up in a wreck in that second one. Maybe a bit of a reverse of the fortunes. In the first one, not as great a run, but finishes 20th, got there right at the end. And I think we might see maybe not like a top 10 run or anything like that, but I could very easily see Chris Buescher going out, getting some big stage points with some strategy and finishing outside the top 10, but still gaining in the 30s in terms of points. So Chris Buescher is going to be kind of my swing for the fences kind of guy, the save a usage and see how it goes for myself. I didn't just want to match you on Kurt Buescher or anything like that. I wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. And I do believe in Buescher in that 17 on Sunday. My second pick though, for this round is going to be Denny Hamlin. I am going to match you on that one. I thought about a couple of big names in this slot, but at the end of the day, if you're using him, I got to use him as well, because Pocono was such a good track for him. As you mentioned there, he had some post-race comments where he feels like they're very close. And honestly, they were very close in this race, steadily inside the top 10. They were just a little bit off from kind of that top 3, top 4 for most of the day, but they were in the conversation. And once again, Denny Hamlin at Pocono was just kind of a sure thing since 2018, all top 10 finishes. Last year, he finished first and second. This year, even without finishing first or second, he actually gained more points than he did in either race last year with some of the stage stuff and that strategy there. Looking with the 550 package this season, not necessarily been the top end. At Vegas was their best points performance with 48. Everything other than that's been in the 40 or 30s range. But Denny Hamlin at Pocono, second race of the weekend. And don't forget, it was the second race of the weekend last year that Denny Hamlin won as well. So Denny Hamlin is also going to be in my lineup here.
Damn you. Damn
Thank
you.
Thank you.
I didn't know if you were going to really pull the plug on him with so little usage is left.
Yeah,
That's unfortunate.
It's obviously not fun, but this track combination with the driver and all the weekend, it's tough to kind of pass on it. So it's going to hurt leaving one of those weekends later in the year, as you kind of mentioned. Some like the Atlanta, New Hampshire, Michigan, whatever kind of mix you want to go with there with the remaining usages. Going to be
Daytona
tough not to have him there. I mean, that as well. Going to be tough not to have him available for one of those. But I think it's worthwhile for Pocono here.
Now I got back-to-back.
Back-to-back to finish out the lineup, and I get last pick.
Yeah, I don't like that. I have a guy written down, and I don't know if I mean, I have a guy named Daniel Suarez written down, but I don't know if I want to go with him or not, because I'm like, man, I could just pounce right here and just take it if I want to.
Starting eighth.
I was very impressed with him. Impressed with him.
What year was it that he finished second, right? He finished second at Pocono the one year.
I think it was to Kyle in like 2017 or something like that.
I feel like that was a thing that happened. Yeah.
You can check it if you want, but when I look at the schedule coming up, man, this is ridiculously tough.
We got Road America, Atlanta, New Hampshire, Watkins Glen, Indianapolis Road Course, Michigan, and Daytona to finish off the season. Or regular season, I should specify.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. I'll
Is he going big or is he going small?
I don't know. I don't like this situation. I hate going first.
You should try winning.
I know it would be nice once in a while, wouldn't it? Okay. I'm gonna go with William Byron.
Okay. What's your usage situation with him?
3.
Okay, so, I've got 2. So
yeah. So I'm going to play him. When I look at the schedule coming up, I'm like, yeah, I would love to play him everywhere. But the pace that he showed in this race today, I was thoroughly impressed. And for the fact that Rudy Fugle, this is their first time there together. Obviously, they won a Truck Series race together when he was with KBM. I think the match is there for him to honestly go out there and try and win tomorrow. I really like the 24 car. I picked him to win today. He was very, very close. And I do like the 24 car quite a bit tomorrow. It's just the usage situation with him, but I think I can manage it where I have a couple of other options. I'm not too crazy. I mean, I would love to play him on the road courses, but I think there's probably other options I could play with him there. And then I think the other tracks that are non-road courses are not going to be the greatest. I think there's probably a couple of other options there as well. So I feel like I can bite the bullet here on William Byron in that ugly ass paint scheme with that color of the year.
Is it the same one second day? That's tough.
Yeah. Unfortunate on that sense, but I just needed to see how he did in the first one. And then I can kind of go from there for the second one. Improved a lot to me today. I think there's a lot of possibility for him tomorrow. So I'm going to go with William Byron as my 5th selection. For the 6th one, this is
to round out the lineup.
I have to beat you here this weekend. This is my chance. Like I think there's a bit of confidence.
Just to recap, right now I've got Kevin Harvick and Chris Buescher as differences versus you, who has William Byron and Kurt Busch.
Yeah, this is extremely tough. Extremely tough. I was contemplating obviously between Suarez, Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick for this last spot. There's a couple of other options, obviously, that could be out there, but I feel like my usage situation with them, I'm in a decent spot. So, oh man, this is those guys can. There's always a guy that does a little bit better than what you think, and if I'm gonna save some usages, I'm going to go with my gut, honestly, on this one. And I really love Kyle Busch for the remainder of the regular season from here on out. I love him here at Pocono, but I think there's some value on him on the road courses when you're kind of looking for other options. And I think he'll be a nice play on those. I'm going to go with Daniel Suarez. Okay. I'm going to round up my lineup with him. He's been decent here in his career. Starts 8th tomorrow. I've got all 10 usages on him, so that's not an issue. It's just a matter of balancing this out. I feel like I have enough of the heavy hitters from the first race, and then I can have one or two guys that could potentially get me some stage points, or just have a decent top 12 kind of day for Daniel Suarez. I mean, he finished there today, so I think that's reasonable. I like the track position a little bit. He's going to be one of the first ones to get eaten up a little bit by the guys that are going to be coming from behind. So that does scare me a little bit, but hopefully he is faster than some of those ahead of him, so he can try and beat that out and just gets a couple of stage points in the back half of the top 10, because he did that today. He finished 8th in the first stage, so it's not unheard of. The RCR cars actually were pretty decent today, considering what we kind of were expecting yesterday when we did our predictions there. And I'm confident in Daniel Suarez. It was just a matter of, do I want to go enough with a heavy hitter? I think that there's some value elsewhere here, and Daniel Suarez is where I'm looking.
I love the Suarez play. Just from I honestly thought about playing him for the first race of the weekend as kind of like a value guy when I was looking at some of the options there. Had a couple of really good runs there with Joe Gibbs. And just a really solid team, like to try stuff with strategy. I don't know. I would assume that they would be a team that stays out and goes for the stage points given the starting position off the top, but I'm not necessarily sure what they'll do if they feel like they can still point their way in, if they're more Hail Marys kind of situation right now. I think that they're more Hail Mary at this point, but
I don't even know if they're trying to win, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, I think that they're reasonable. Obviously you want to win, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's so hard to beat the Hendrick cars. I think they're a pretty realistic group. And
they do got some of the power though under the hood.
That is true. That is true. Maybe they can pull a Cole Custer here or something like last year, but yeah.
We do get crazy restarts here. You never know. But and William Byron, man, I wish I could do it, but I just can't. I only have the 2 usages left. I felt good about using the one this weekend. I can't use both. I thought about it for a little bit, but when I look at some of the races coming up, I have to have 2 the rest of the year. I can't use them all up just yet. So William Byron, as much as I would have loved to, can't fit him in, which is why I had to go with Alex Bowman in my lineup, because at this point of the season, you can't not have a Hendrick car in there, right? Yeah. So that's the route I went down. But for my last pick here, which route do I go down? So originally, I had the name Brad Keselowski here, and not because he had a good Saturday or anything like that, just simply because of my usage situation and the kind of car that he has. I've still got 6 left on him for the rest of the regular season. Could be a play on road courses, but not necessarily like the number 1 go-to play or anything like that. So I thought about it a little bit. I just didn't see enough from them, and it's kind of been in that same kind of boat for a long time here for Brad Keselowski. So I'm not going to go that route. You were talking a little bit about the upcoming schedule, and the road courses is something that's really, really bothered me with kind of the route that I want to go with these picks, because there's quite a few guys that you can go with the top end, but would be a good usages on road courses. A guy that we haven't brought up at all, as well as Joey Logano, who kind of surprised a little bit on the Saturday with some strategy and whatnot, showed more pace with this package than he has all season, but he's also another really good road course usage for the rest of this regular season. But I'm scared of that William Byron play. I'm not going to lie. I like Harvick. I don't think that he's in that William Byron territory. So I'm going to swing big on this last one. And it's a usage that I might regret using, but I really liked him on the Saturday and almost used him if it wasn't for you going so conservative. And that's Kyle Busch in my lineup here. You've got the back-to-back races. You've got the back-to-back races. They looked really good on the opening day. They finished in the top 10 in every single race so far this season with this package. And I just feel like it's bound to be another good result. And when you look at the race last year,
and then he got wrecked.
When you look at the race last year, or the races last year, I should say, there was only 4 drivers that finished inside the top 10 for both races, which I found a little bit surprising. I thought it might have been a couple more than that. Obviously, you had Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, who both finished 1-2 in both races. But other than that, you had Eric Almirola and Martin Truex Jr. And I feel like Kyle Busch, in the form that he's been on with this 550 package, fits into kind of that mold of somebody that you can kind of believe in to be that kind of mold and finish inside the top 10 for both of these and get solid points. And I feel like William Byron fits in that as well. So I have to match him, but I can't match him. So I'm going Kyle Busch on this one to diversify the lineup a little bit and kind of swing big on Kyle Busch here, because I do feel like you'll have a very, very solid Sunday here once again. So Kyle Busch rounds out my lineup here.
Are you down to 3 then after this week?
After this week on Kyle Busch, I will be down to 2.
Holy Moses. That's insane. Wow.
It is not. Hey, you know what? The thing for myself is when I look at road courses, for starters, you're less guaranteed with stage points. And I feel like I can find more value from the rest of the grid at road courses than I can at this kind of racetrack. So for myself, when I look at the rest of the road courses, you're going to have some AJ Allmendinger in there. You're going to have some Austin Cindric in there that helps round out some lineups. A couple of the usages that I've saved over the season, I feel good combining with those and obviously other people in the field. So I feel like I'm in a situation where I can play Kyle Busch on a weekend here where I feel very strong about his chances and maybe save one of those potentially for a road course or even none of those and still feel pretty good about the road courses. So going big for Kyle Busch here.
I mean, I can't say that I don't like the pick. You know, I do like it, but I just
gotta keep the streak alive.
It's just a bit rich for my blood. I really like him elsewhere, and I mean, it's not. I think he's just always been a guy that's pretty well rounded. So it's really tough to say like he's been the guy that's really competing with these Hendrick cars the past like 2 months. So I mean, it's not a bad bet at all. So looking forward to seeing what our lineups on how that does. Let's look at the honorable mentions and the stay away from for this one, because there's a little bit of differentiation between the 2 days that we've done this. I have an idea on what I want to do. So William Byron can come out because I have him in my lineup. Kyle Busch obviously is on here. Kevin Harvick is on here. Brad Keselowski is on here as well after a decent first day. A little bit quieter. Obviously had the incident with Cole Custer.
One stage point, finished 10th in the race. Nothing crazy, but not like brutal by any means.
Nothing special. I do have Joey Logano switching from staying away from to an honorable mention here for this one, just based off of how well he did in the first one. I am a little bit concerned that now he's back in traffic. He didn't really have to experience that at all in the first race, that he could end up just staying back there now. But you know, I'm not going to take that risk. I think he's definitely a guy. If you have 5 usages, I have 5 usages left on him, but I'm a little bit scared to use Logano right now. Wow. I think I like him on the road courses a lot. Left
on Logano, so. And
I think there's a couple of other places where he could be of value later on in the season. Daytona, and then Tyler Reddick as well gets an honorable mention here, because we talked about this yesterday when we recorded. We pointed out Austin Dillon hasn't been great here, and then you mentioned Tyler Reddick. I was like, yeah, I'm not even crazy about Reddick, but he finished inside the top 10 in today's race. So very impressive showing from Mr. Reddick. Could be a nice steal of an option. He finished 11th. My apologies. He finished 11th. So going to be right on that cusp there. I think he could be a guy that moves forward in the early going, and could be a guy that's just consistent for you and a nice value. Just like a Daniel Suarez, to be honest. But I just wanted to take a swing on Suarez. I have a funny feeling that maybe he could do something tomorrow rather than Reddick. But those are the honorable mentions. I don't really have too many, because in the stay away froms, I actually have quite a few this time around.
Okay.
I'm leading it off with a guy that probably should have won today, Kyle Larson. He's going to be starting from the back, and that is not a usage situation you want to be putting yourself in with Kyle Larson, how valuable they are. You're not getting a maximum usage here out of him because he's not going to be able to work his way to get a stage win. At least I hope not, because the competition must be really, really slow if he can do that at Pocono of all places.
He'd also just be a man on a mission, which I would not put past him.
He could win tomorrow. Let's be honest. There's no reason he couldn't.
Is he still the favorite? I'd probably say so.
Yeah, I do. I'm always a fan of guys coming from the back because you learn more about your car. But Kyle Larson, I'm going to stay away from him. There's options elsewhere when he's going to be having more track position at the front, obviously going to a backup car. Hence, even though he says he's starting 12th, he's going moving to the back with a backup car. So I'm going to stay away from him. Of course, if you want to take a risk on him, go for it. But I would probably go against that for Kyle Larson here this weekend. And also going with his teammate, Chase Elliott. This is just not a place for him that has worked well in his career. Road courses coming up, a mile and a half in Atlanta, his home track, and then a couple of others. Michigan could be definitely a usage for him as well. If you save some, if you are very patient with your usages with Chase Elliott, if you can last that long to keep him in your lineup with a usage. But this is just not the place for Chase Elliott in his career, despite the Hendrick dominance that we saw in today's race. Elliott suffered some damage, like I mentioned earlier. It's still a track that is just not quite suiting Chase Elliott so far in his young career. So stay away from him. Austin Dillon does reappear on this last list after a 21st place finish in today's race. So not even close to comparable to his teammate Tyler Reddick there, or even Daniel Suarez in kind of similar equipment. So just not the track for Austin Dillon. We kind of expected that. So he'll probably be back stronger for the next one. Matt DiBenedetto, a guy that you had in your lineup here to try and balance the usage situation. Disappointing day for him. I believe he suffered a pit penalty in that last stage there. So that was a bit unfortunate. He's starting 32nd. I don't know. It's been really tough going for Matt DiBenedetto. As soon as they start to pick up some steam, they fall back down the mountain again. So it's been really tough for him to gain any sort of momentum. And this is a reason why I'm staying away from him. And then lastly, it's the guy that's starting third in this one, Martin Truex Jr. He was pretty abysmal in this race. Like, we saw a couple of times where he was on a pit strategy there with Kevin Harvick, I believe, but then he just kind of plummeted through the field on those last couple of laps. Like in the final 25 laps or so after the green flag stops, he was nowhere to be seen really. And he was really nowhere to be seen whatsoever throughout the entire race. So, we mentioned this as well in the last episode. They could be experimenting stuff, but whatever they have, as they point out on the broadcast, is not really working. We haven't really seen them hit on anything if they are trying stuff for the playoffs, which is a bit scary at times, but they have shown well on the playoff tracks that we've gone to earlier on in the season. So I think they are overblowing it a touch, but they haven't been anywhere near their usual self after it's seemingly a bounce back season after one victory last year, 3 on the year already, but they've been on a tough sledding here, worse than what they ever were last season. Let's not forget, in this summer stretch that we're kind of approaching here, Truex had consecutive top 3 finishes. I think like for like 7 races in a row. It was ridiculous. So I would stay away from him. There's road courses coming up, a couple of other tracks. I think Truex is going to be especially valuable.
I've got 4 usages left on him, and I know 5. Exactly the 4 where I feel comfortable playing them.
I'm using 5, and I'm using all 5. I don't care what happens. I'm not wasting a Truex usage. Should have gone a little bit heavier on him in the regular season earlier on, but I'll still bite the bullet here and try and use as much as I can here in the later stages of this regular season. But that is it for the honorable mentions and the stay away froms. Bonus picks to round out the episode, a make or break kind of section of the of fantasy each week.
Could have won you it.
Yeah, it could have. If Kyle Busch won the race or any Joe Gibbs racing car won the race, I would have beat you by 2 points. So it's just that little fine margin there. I had to go different from you on the bonus picks yesterday to try and compensate for that lack of star-studded lineup that you put out. It almost worked. One thing goes my way and I could maybe got it, but not to be on the Saturday. Let's see if the Sunday works out a little bit better. So you lead us off with the top Chevrolet.
Kyle Larson, just simply put, until obviously the blown tire aside, he would have been the top Chevrolet once again. And until Kyle Larson shows me on actual pace that he is not the top guy in general, I'm not going to bet against him. So Kyle Larson is going to be the top Chevy. And to that point, though, don't feel like Chase Elliott's a strong candidate for this. Alex Bowman could be. Obviously he won, but I feel like that was less indicative of their actual race pace as a whole and more some good strategy on their part. I feel like it's probably a toss-up between Byron and Larson for this one. Could feel very strongly about William Byron for this one. Could have played William Byron as the top Chevy to maybe try and take away some of those points from you, but just can't do it. So I'm going Kyle Larson for top Chevy.
I'm, as much as I love to say that a guy coming from the back, I really love that element of a race. I think it gives them a tremendous advantage of knowing their car's capabilities. It is a backup car, and I'm not 100% certain that a backup car is going to be able to get it done with such a quick turnaround time. So I am going with William Byron as the top Chevrolet. The fact that he was that close with Kyle Larson for the majority of the race was very encouraging for me. I'm going with him back-to-back days here, and for different reasons. I think the 24 car is going to be the Chevrolet to beat in this one. I think Larson will be back in the top 5 before we even know it, really. But I do like the 24 strengths quite a bit here. They had one issue, tight off the turn. They can fix that overnight, and then I'm sure that he'll be one to be reckoned with tomorrow. It's going to be really, once these guys get a little bit more time to fine-tune their cars, it's going to be more difficult to pass because there's not as much, to improve, I would say, from race to race. So William Byron is the top Chevrolet for myself. Top Ford is an interesting one because we both went into this one with Kevin Harvick yesterday. Ryan Blaney ended up being the top Ford. I don't think anybody would have saw that one coming after his starting position. It's an interesting mix here. I don't have Kevin Harvick in my lineup, and for that reason, I am going to be putting him in as my top Ford to cover my bases. If he does kind of pop off, Rodney Childers is a wizard with setting up a car. I think he could be a guy that is a useful play. I was very close to picking Ryan Blaney for this category. Very impressed with him on the Saturday. Just want to make sure that if I lose that on 5 points, it's going to be because Ryan Blaney does well, and that's in my lineup. Then Kevin Harvick is going to be the top Ford to try and compensate for that if he does show up and perform. Brad Keselowski, of course, could be a potential one, but beyond those three, I'm a bit hesitant. Logano could, I guess, after this first race, but I like those other three maybe a little bit more than the 22 cars. So Kevin Harvick it is for me.
Yeah, Kevin Harvick's a very, very strong play for myself. I am going the Ryan Blaney route, and simply because that team needed some positive energy, needed some good momentum, and I feel like they got it coming up through the field and having a very strong day, top 5 run at Pocono, a better starting position, of course, and I feel like second half of the weekend, they're going to be very strong once again, and in my opinion, probably the leading Penske car. Didn't see enough from Keselowski, and I feel like Logano was more based on strategy than it was necessarily their overall pace. So Ryan Blaney is going to be the top Ford pick for me. I think it is a toss-up between Blaney and Harvick there, but I just think Blaney has maybe that little bit more high end, so I'm going to go Blaney for that one. But Toyota is a big one that I'm flip-flopping on because I really feel like Kyle Busch is going to have a strong day, but I am going to go with Denny Hamlin for this one. I just really like the theme from last year where he was almost there for that first one. Kevin Harvick got him on some strategy. For the second one, they went out and won the race. I like the theme coming into this one where they've just been a little bit off all season long. So I'm going to say at one of his best tracks as well, Pocono, he's going to be the top Toyota on the second half of the weekend.
I really thought you were going to go Kyle.
I had it written down to begin with. I'm not going to lie.
Really wanted you to go with Kyle because I do think Hamlin is a good bet here. I'm going to match you on Denny Hamlin.
Okay. I thought we were going to go 3 for 3, having different picks for the manufacturers.
No, okay. I'm going with Hamlin because I do really feel like he could be the top Toyota. I don't know if it's just the recency of what happened in that second race last year with Kyle Busch, but I'm just not quite fully there that he could be the guy that is the top Toyota. I don't have him in my lineup. You do, so you're doubling down on him. I'm doubling down on Denny Hamlin. So it's tough to say. It's really tough to say, but I'm going to go with the 11 car to be top Toyota. Winning manufacturer is pretty simple for me. It's Chevrolet. I can't bet against the Chevys right now. I would love to go with a Toyota, but until they can prove to me that they can beat the Chevrolets, I can't pick anybody other than that manufacturer.
Yep, and same for myself, Chevy, and I am going with Hendrick as the organization as well. Once again, until they prove me otherwise, I'm sticking with it. I second guessed it. What was it? The race before this one, I can't even remember this. Oh, Nashville. I second guessed it there, and it almost cost me.
What did cost you? And then
Shout out Chase Elliott.
His pit crew more than anything.
Yep. But again, until somebody else beats him, I'm going to stick with it. So Chevy Hendrick combo. I think that we could see somebody else do it because Larson does have to come from the back with a backup car. And William Byron is kind of the only other true contender. Some of these other races, you could look at the entire stable and be like, yeah, they're strong on these kind of tracks or whatever, and I can see it. It's really down to Larson or Byron, unless there's like a real surprise like we kind of got from this one with Alex Bowman being able to break through. I don't see Bowman going back to back. I really don't see Elliott as being a contender for this one. So it's going to be between those two, but just can't bet against them. So I'm going Hendrick and Chevrolet.
Man, you put me in a pickle. You're putting me in a pickle. Oh,
what I will say is that I would rather be the one reacting to these two than the one kind of putting it out there first. For some of the other ones, I do feel I'm advantageous having like the last pick of like the drivers and stuff like that. Although leading it off, I wasn't super happy about, but I'm very interested to see what you do for this one.
Me too.
Because you went Joe Gibbs for the first race.
That's what kind of lost me in a way.
No. You would have lost by a closer margin.
Yeah.
But if Joe Gibbs had won, then you would have won overall.
Yeah, I know. A run has to end at some point, Kyle. I said this yesterday. It's got to end at some point. And if it's one thing those JGR cars are good at, it's practice and figuring out what they need. If I want to win, I could match and just kind of go all in on my lineup and trust in it and hope that it's going to do it. But I am going to go with Joe Gibbs Racing for this. I can't quite go all in. I'm going to go with Chevrolet, obviously, because that has the most cars and it has the most options. But I originally had Hendrick down. I wasn't sure what you were going to do. But I am going to double dip on Joe Gibbs Racing this weekend, see if they can pull something off. I was very encouraged with what Denny Hamlin had to say specifically. Kyle Busch had a go-to attitude. I got to give him credit. He handled it very well, coming second in both races on the Saturday that he entered. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a war out there. Like, this is going to be a really tough test for Hendrick specifically, because Joe Gibbs has got all the tools they need to try and battle with them, and they were not too far off in this one. 0.6 of a second between Alex Bowman and Kyle Busch at the end of this race. So maybe they can gain those 0.6 overnight and try and figure something out. So I'm going to go with Joe Gibbs Racing. Last one.
The big one.
Race 15 points.
Winner.
On the line. This is a tough one because I am going to leave you Kyle Larson. I am. I'm going to leave him. I'm going to leave you Kyle Larson. I know you can have him. You can have him. It could be my downfall, but I do feel really confident in this guy in this race. I'm double dipping on William Byron.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'm double dipping because I had to go with JGR if I wanted to make this winner pick, and I think William Byron is the guy for that. I really would have liked to have gone with Denny Hamlin if I'm going to go with if I went with Hendrick for the winning organization, but since you went with Hendrick, I'm going to go with Gibbs and then try and go for a Hendrick winner. Yeah, that's what it comes down to for me. I'm a bit scared to put Kyle Larson as the race winner pick coming from the back, as much as I love that. I just think the 24 car would look pretty stout to me today. In traffic, it looked pretty maneuverable. And I think Rudy Fugle and him are a pretty good combo to try and get it done today or when you're watching this one on the Sunday race. So he's my pick.
Interesting. I'm not going to go Kyle Larson.
Wow.
Just because the backup car thing does scare me just a little bit. I'm cool playing him for the top Chevy because that's only 5 points. It's not the end of the world or anything like that. But I could easily see him going out and getting the win regardless. But the backup car thing does scare me just enough to make me pivot away from it. And it could be a really stupid move, but I don't know. I do believe in my lineup enough to where I feel like I can gamble a little bit on the race winner and still feel pretty okay about my lineup because you do have two kind of conservative usages, whereas I've only got the one there in Chris Buescher. But for my race winner, I wasn't really expecting to go this route at the beginning, but I've kind of looking at the numbers, talking it all through, kind of warmed up to it a little bit and feel pretty decent about it. So I'm going to say getting his first win of the season is Denny Hamlin. I kind of see what you're going with the JGR kind of catching up thing. It's also kind of try and cover the bases a little bit with a JGR win there. But Denny Hamlin, he was close this weekend, or sorry, on the Saturday. You compare that to last year, he probably should have won that first race, got beat on some pitch strategy by Kevin Harvick. Second race goes out and wins it. This weekend, I feel like there are some parallels to that, to where they were close with the car, but not close enough. It's kind of been the theme of the season. I feel like if he's going to break through and get a win in this regular season, it feels like this is probably the date that he's going to do it. You've got the quote unquote practice time or the race data to pull from to help out the car. You look at what they were able to do last year. Very, very impressive things. You look at Hamlin's career. This has been one of his, if not his best track. So looking at it all, looking at the form that they've been on this package, everything involved, I'm going to take the swing on Denny Hamlin just because Kyle Larson is in a backup car.
It's a good pick. I mean, that was my second guy all along when I was looking at it. So
I did kind of think that you were going to go with the Hamlin pick and maybe double down a little bit on Joe Gibbs, but I really don't know how the second race is going to go, just because the second race of the weekend is so unique. It's not something that we basically ever see. We saw it a little bit last year, but specifically at Pocono, of course. But from that race, there was only 4 carryover top 10s, and 2 of those were the dominant guys of the entire season. When you look right now, the dominant guy of the season right now to this point is Kyle Larson. Well, he's in a backup car starting from the back. Maybe Denny Hamlin is like the other guy you could pull, even though he's been in a slump recently. Byron potentially, Kyle Busch potentially. So it's really not the same situation as it was last year, where there was 2 clear-cut guys who were like, yeah, they're probably going to finish 1-2, and then figure out who like the other kind of guys that are going to finish in the top 10. I do feel like this one's pretty wide open, and the invert's going to make for some fun strategy stuff. The extra 10 laps is going to impact strategy as well. So I'm very interested to see how this race goes from a strategy point of view, in addition to potentially some of the fun racing we can get if we do get some carryover from like the mid-pack battles that we got because of the strategy on Sunday as well.
Yeah, I will say, like, I think the winner is going to come from the top 5 that finished the race today, including Kyle Larson.
Yeah.
I think, any of those picks, you're pretty much golden.
Like we saw last year, the dominant cars are the dominant cars. So.
There's only so much you can change overnight, but at the same time, you can change a bit overnight. So it is a tough balance, and you don't want to overreact to some of these guys' performances, and you don't want to, not give them enough or give them enough credit, essentially. So it's a tough balance. It's the only time this season where we have this opportunity in 2021. So really trying to bring back the old 2020 vibes in this one where I was good. Hopefully there's some luck on my side. And I will say from here on out, I think this will be one of my last, if not my last, conservative weekend based off my usage situation. I had to get through this Pocono one, and I feel really good about how I've kind of managed it. Now I'm going to be going full blaze to the end of the regular season.
That's partially why I went kind of aggressive with it again. I think it's fair to say aggressive with the Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin pulls, just because I feel like I do kind of need to take advantage of you going a little bit more conservative again, get that extra win in the bank, because I do feel like you'll have the advantage over these next handful of weeks, specifically on the quote unquote normal tracks. I think the road courses is still kind of up in the air because of the different strategies and whatnot.
We will get practice on 2 of those at least.
Yep. That's true. But
even though we do this before the practices, so
that's also fair. But no, I think at this point we might start to see the tables turn. I feel like the streak is going to come to an end soon. But I don't know. Hey,
how the turntables.
But no, I'm feeling good for this Sunday here. But I know that it's a ticking time bomb for when it's just going to explode and you're just going to roll off on a streak like I did.
I'm waiting for the playoffs. That's my
Okay.
time to shine. And then, if I
Fair
suck in the
enough.
playoffs, I'm really focusing on that last race, so then I can rub you the wrong way for the next season. I basically
Hey,
won the year.
It's NASCAR system. It's NASCAR system. So
It is that way. Looking forward to the second one. I can't believe I'm saying that. I am doing the shift again
Yeah.
tomorrow on TSN. So
hell yeah, you are.
I've got a double header tomorrow. I've got to do the Xfinity Series race as well in the morning.
Ooh,
So I've got a
okay.
really long day ahead of me.
Race winner pick that you hope for from a graphics perspective.
I don't think I'm going to be doing an Xfinity graphic. I will say that.
No. For the Cup Series, I mean.
That's a really good question, Kyle.
Obviously not just like somebody random from the field, but somebody who has a decent shot at winning that you would like to toss out a graphic for, with either the paint scheme they're running this weekend or anything like that.
I've done quite a few Kyle Bushes, so I'm kind of
really
kind of creatively out of it with how many versions I can do with M&Ms. I've done a couple Bowman ones already, so I don't want to do that. I don't want to do another Larson one. I will say a William Byron one would be interesting with that color scheme, how I could maybe work that in. But if I'm going to go with something, I'm going to go with Kevin Harvick. I think I could do something with the beer or something like that with the Poconos and how they kind of look with the beer and everything like that. I think there's potential for something with Kevin Harvick on that side, but he's a guy I've never done before with a graphic either. So I think there's,
interesting.
Because last year, if you don't remember, I was waiting for him to win the championship so I could do one for him, but then he never did. So I missed out on a lot of opportunities for a Kevin Harvick win graphic last season. Yep. So maybe this is the time where he turns it around and we can celebrate with some Busch beer in victory lane. Who knows? But any final thoughts before we wrap up? Get another fantasy episode, Kyle.
Yeah, just a weirdly interesting, fun Pocono race that I don't think a lot of us were expecting. And just going into tomorrow, it's more fun racing, busy day. You've got beginning the day Formula One, of course, at the Red Bull Ring with some interesting top 10 qualifying. That's going to make for a really fun race. Earlier in the morning as well, just after the F1 race, you've got IMSA 6 hours of Watkins Glen starting off. And then right into that, it rolls Xfinity and Cup. So a lot of fun stuff coming up still this weekend. It was a busy Saturday. It's still a busy Sunday. We're right in the thick of that motorsport schedule where it seems like everything's going. So it's a very fun time.
Thank God IndyCar is not on this weekend. Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. Come back next weekend though. But a fun weekend packed full of stuff and only ramps up on Sunday as well. So looking forward to it.
Let's go through our lineups one more time here, Kyle, to finish off the episode. I went first for the first episode this weekend. Maybe the luck can change. You go first for this one.
Fair enough. Got to try what you got to try. I respect it.
I'm trying as much as I can here.
Yeah, you got to try as much as you can. I've got Alex Bowman, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin as the same as Lukas. I'm going different with Kevin Harvick. Chris Buescher is a more conservative play, hoping for some big stage points off the top there. And Kyle Busch to round out the driver lineup for the bonus picks. Going Kyle Larson, good old faithful for top Chevy, Ryan Blaney top Ford, and Denny Hamlin top Toyota. Manufacturer organization, again, going with Old Faithful, Chevy, and Hendrick. Race winner, though, going a bit maybe off the board potentially because it is somebody who has not won yet this season. And Denny Hamlin, feel pretty good about that 11 car going into the second race of the season or of the weekend, I should say.
Yeah, I picked Hamlin last week, so I swear to God, if he wins this week, I'm going to be pretty upset. And for my lineup, as Kyle said, we are sharing an joint agreement with Alex Bowman, Ryan Blaney, and Denny Hamlin. The difference is for myself, I'm going with Kurt Busch, Daniel Suarez for the first time this season, as well as William Byron, one of my big hitters for this one. Top Chevrolet, William Byron. Top Ford, Kevin Harvick. Top Toyota, Denny Hamlin. Matching Kyle on that one, and then matching him as well on the winning manufacturer being Chevrolet. Going different for the winning organization, then of course we have to differ for the race winner pick. I'm going with William Byron to get his second victory of the season.
Yeah, it does hurt just a little bit to have to kind of cheer against Willie B on Sunday because a good Willie B day probably means I'm losing fantasy, but you know what? It's one of those ones that I'm just going to have to accept if it does happen.
One of these times I will end up winning. We'll see if it turns around here for this one.
I mean, it's no guarantee. You don't have to win necessarily.
No, I could just go the rest of the season and lose, but
would you, if that happened, would you like continue doing fantasy next year? Or would you just quit?
I would do it, but not for this show because I would hate to be embarrassed.
Fair enough.
No, but I would do it again.
But
I would be heartbroken if that is the case.
I would have to like tank one weekend just because I felt so bad.
You got to bring the randomizer back. Like just go for one weekend.
Here's what I'll say. If I have the regular season championship wrapped up, I will bring the randomizer back for the Daytona finale.
Okay. Well, you should do that anyways, to be honest. But
I probably will, if we're being honest. But
that's one of the most chaotic and unpredictable races of the season. Might as well go with the Cody Ware.
Because I went against the randomizer for Talladega and I didn't win. So clearly I just need to do the randomizer.
That's true.
And I don't need to worry about burning any usages with it. So
that is very true. But that'll do it for the fantasy preview episode here for the second Pocono race. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Green Flag Pod, as well as Twitter at The Green Flag Pod. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed it. We really, really appreciate it. The growth on the channel has been very, very good recently. Up 50 subscribers basically over the past week and a half, I think it is, since our silly season 1 kind of came out. So thank you all so much for your support, your comments, everything like that. Let us know who's in your lineups in the comment section below and give us your thoughts on ours as well. If you have time before the race, it is a 3:30 p.m. Eastern start time for this one on NBC.
Be sure to edit those lineups in time.
That is true. They open up in the morning, so do not forget about that. But looking forward to Pocono. I can't believe I've said that, but maybe there's something on the cards. F1 kicks off the morning way early for myself at 9 a.m. Eastern, and then we got the Xfinity Series race, then the Cup Series race. So an action-packed Sunday of motorsports. But for this episode, I've been Lukas Wacker. He's been Kyle Cushman, signing off for now. We will talk to you when we talk to you next. Enjoy the racing on the Sunday, everybody, and we will talk to you soon.